What defines a perfect game? Is it the way your hands tremble during a boss fight, the story that rewires your soul, or that moment when you realize you've been holding your breath for 10 straight minutes because the world on screen feels alive? Hey everyone, it's Glitchery here, and today we're diving into the definitive lineup of 2025. 6 games that didn't just set the bar, they launched it into orbit. Forget quick takes, we're going deep. We're talking hidden details, game-changing mechanics, and why these titles aren't just great, they're landmarks. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's unravel why this year was a masterclass in gaming. Let's kick things off with a game that turns stealth into poetry, Sniper Elite Resistance. Now, W2 shooters are a dime a dozen, but Rebellion, they didn't just make another shooter, they crafted a moral labyrinth. Picture this, you're not a lone wolf sniper this time, you're Jacques Moreau, a French resistance leader with a cigarette habit and a vendetta. Your squad isn't faceless grunts. They're Elise, the ex-nurse who patches you up but judges every ruthless choice you make, and Henri, the hot-headed teenager who'd rather stab Nazis than plan. Every mission starts with a war table. Do you sabotage a train to delay reinforcements knowing it'll get hostages executed, or stage a noisy diversion to save them, risking your squad's cover? And the sniping... Oh, the sniping. The game introduces bullet environmental physics. Shoot through a church bell to create a distraction. The sound waves temporarily deafen enemies, letting you slip by. But wait, the bell's resonance also alerts patrols 2 streets over. It's a chess match with a rifle. And that X-ray kill cam? It's evolved. Now, if you shoot a grenade on an officer's belt, the camera follows the explosion's shockwave, showing lungs collapsing and shrapnel ripping through a Jeep's fuel tank. Gruesome? Absolutely, but it forces you to feel the cost of every shot. But here's the kicker. The game's liberation meter tracks how your actions impact occupied France. Ignore civilian pleas for help, resistance morale plummets, shops refuse to sell you ammo. Save a village? Suddenly partisans ambush patrols for you. By the final mission, a desperate siege in a crumbling chateau, I was crying over pixelated characters I'd grown to love. Sniper Elite, Resistance isn't a game, it's a haunting question. How far would you go to win?
We must be ready.
Next up, a game that proves joy doesn't need a gritty reboot, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Nostalgia's a cheap trick, but Retro Studios, they weaponized it. Imagine the Wii Classic, but every pixel polished to obsessive levels. That iconic minecart level? It's now a 3D roller coaster. The camera swings around DK as he grinds rails, dodging lava geysers that reflect off his fur. Yes, fur physics in a Donkey Kong game, but the magic's in the co-op. Playing as Dixie Kong isn't just player 2, her hover ability lets you break levels. My buddy and I skipped an entire boss by throwing Dixie onto a hidden platform, then vine whipping DK up. The game rewarded us with a secret cheeky monkey achievement, and the new content. The Lost World expansion adds 30 levels cut from the original. One stage, Temple of the Banana King, is a Metroidvania-light puzzle where you rearrange temple blocks to unlock a giant banana statue that, well, let's just say it shoots lasers. But the real star is the soundtrack. David Wise returned to remix every track. Aquatic Ambience now has haunting whale vocals, and Fear Factory mixes industrial clangs with tribal drums. Oh, and the final boss? King K. Rool isn't just a fight, it's a Broadway musical. He's conducting a pirate ship's canon orchestra, and you're jumping between musical notes mid-air. It's the most fun I've had since 1994, and proof that old school can still mean revolutionary. Now let's shift gears into a game that's less a sim and more a sensory overload, Assetto Corsa Evo. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be Lewis Hamilton, this is your answer. The game opens with a VR tutorial inside a hypercar's cockpit. Your instructor, Valtteri Bottas, yes, the actual F1 star, who walks you through tire warm-ups like a drill sergeant. The realism is terrifying. On rainy tracks, your gloves, rendered in 4K, drip water onto the steering wheel, brake too hard, and the pedal vibrates like it's gonna snap. But the genius is the live career mode. You start as a nobody in regional races, driving clunkers held together by duct tape. After a race, your phone blows up with TikTok-style clips of your overtakes. Comment sections roast your mistakes or hail you as a hero. Build a fan base, and sponsors like Red Bull slide into your DMs. One quest had me doing a midnight delivery for Monster Energy to unlock a prototype car, which exploded mid-race because I ignored the engine break-in period. And the cars? The 1970 Porsche 917K isn't just a model, it's a time machine. The dashboard creaks, the gearbox fights you, and at 200 miles per hour, the wind noise is deafening. But the crown jewel? The 24 hours of Le Mans event. Play in real time, yes, 24 IRL hours, and the game's dynamic weather mirrors actual Le Mans forecasts. I did a 3 a.m. stint in a thunderstorm, windshield wipers failing, crew chief screaming French profanities, and it was transcendent. Assetto Corsa EVO isn't a game, it's a midlife crisis in a $5,000 racing rig. Now, let's teleport to a world where magic is alive. Eternal Strands. This isn't just another RPG, it's a physics playground where creativity is your strongest weapon. You play as Yuna, a weaver whose spells don't just deal damage, they rewrite reality. Cast a blizzard, and snow piles up dynamically, stack enough, and you can climb it to skip puzzles. But here's the twist. The Titans, godlike bosses, learn from you. Freeze a fire Titan, next time it'll summon steam vents to melt your ice. I once spent an hour luring a Titan into a canyon only to collapse the cliffs on it, and the game rewarded me with a hidden architect achievement. The world, Ethera, is a character itself. Ancient forests have trees that grow in real time. Seriously, leave the game idle and saplings become redwoods. Cities rebuild after battles, NPCs haul debris, kids draw murals of your victories. But the story, it's a gut punch. Yuna's magic is killing her strand by strand. Every spell costs memory, use too much, and you forget your lover's name. By the end, I was avoiding combat just to preserve her humanity. And the final choice? Sacrifice Yuna to save Ethera, or let the world die so she can live? I sat there for 20 minutes sobbing before hitting confirm. Eternal Strands isn't a game, it's therapy with a sword. A game that ripped out my heart, stomped on it, then handed it back with a wink. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Square Enix didn't just remake a classic, they recontextualized it. The Midgar slums aren't levels, they're living, suffering organisms. A kid named Miko sells you stolen materia, but return later, and he's been arrested by Shinra. Break him out, and he joins your party as a hacker until he betrays you for his sister's medical bills. Every side quest is a tragedy. Combat? It's art. The new synergy system lets characters combo moves. Tifa and Aerith can launch a joint limit break, where Tifa uppercuts an enemy into Aerith's orbital laser. And Sephiroth? His boss fight isn't a battle. It's a psychological horror show. The screen glitches, Cloud's stats randomly drop, and at one point you're forced to fight Tifa in a nightmare sequence. I had to walk away twice. But the real star is the expanded Zack timeline. Playable flashbacks reveal he's alive in a parallel world, working as a mercenary in one quest. Cloud and Zack meet across dimensions, teaming up to fight a hybrid Genova-Sephiroth abomination. The ending lets just say the Whispers weren't the real villains. Square Enix didn't just remake FF7, they broke it, and rebuilt it into something dangerously beautiful. And finally, the game that didn't just meet expectations, it shattered them. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Insomniac took everything we loved and cranked it to 11. Swinging isn't a mechanic, it's zen. The adaptive trigger resistance changes with speed, flick the web too hard, and Peter's arm tires. But the symbiote? It's a drug. The controls get heavier, the screen pulses red, and civilians scream when you land too close. I accidentally terrified a crowd and got a negative headline in the Daily Bugle. The story? Peter's arc is Shakespearean. The symbiote doesn't just make him aggressive, it preys on his insecurities. In one scene, he yells at MJ, and the game forces you to press the button to escalate the argument. It's gut-wrenching. Meanwhile, Miles' story is pure heart. His Harlem subplot involves a teenage girl named Zara who paints murals of him. Help her enough, and she gifts you a custom suit based on Puerto Rican heritage, but the pinnacle? The final battle. You switch between Peter and Miles mid-combo, dodging meteors in space, while J. Jonah Jameson narrates the chaos live on radio. Post-credits, a teaser shows Wolverine saving a bleeding Peter in an alley. Spider-Man 2 isn't a game, it's a cultural reset, and Insomniac, they're not just developers, they're superheroes. These 6 games didn't just release in 2025, they invaded our lives. They made us strategists, racers, mages, and heroes. They made us laugh, scream, and question our morals. So tell me, which world will you dive into first? Smash that like button if your wallet's still recovering, drop a comment with your 2025 MVP, and subscribe because this is just the trailer. Until next time, keep playing, keep feeling, keep living. Game on.